everyone and welcome back to my channel. It has been a really long time, but it is so nice to be back filming some videos. Today I thought that I would rank my modules that I've done over the course of my Oxford Law degree. If you're new to my channel, then I've just finished my law degree at the University of Oxford. I don't have my results yet, but I'm hoping that I've passed. And today I thought I would just kind of go through all of the modules that I've done over the past 3 years, give my thoughts, give my opinions, and hopefully it'll be useful for somebody who's trying to select modules or just kind of generally interested. I thought this would just be kind of a chill first video back to film, and yeah, let's get into it. I don't know if this particular use of tier maker has been done before, but I'm absolutely sure it has been. The only people I've seen use tier maker are like skincare influencers, because that's basically all I watch on YouTube. So yeah, I have no idea whose kind of idea it was to originally do these tier maker things, but I think they're quite fun to watch, and I thought it just might be a nice way to summarise my degree for you. So I'll keep looking down because my laptop's down here and that's where I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try and do a funky thing and put what I'm doing on screen here. We'll see if that works, but if not, you can just listen to what I'm saying. So I ranked them, loved it, looked forward to tutorials, alright, bit of a drag, and glad to see the back of it. Overall, I had 9 final honours school modules and 3 law moderations modules. Oxford is a little bit different because there are more compulsory modules than I think at any other law school, I suppose, in the UK, because you have to study jurisprudence, you have to study Roman law, and they split public law into constitutional law and administrative law. So you only end up having 2 optional modules. So yeah, basically I will run through. Starting in first year, in my very first term, I did all of constitutional law and I did half of criminal law. Constitutional law, straight away, that is going to go into loved it. I just loved public law. It was so much fun. If you don't know what public law is, it's basically like the law governing the government. So it's all about parliamentary sovereignty, the EU, the powers of the executive, separation of powers, all of those kind of things. And all of that theoretical stuff comes under constitutional law. And then more kind of practical judicial review-y type things tend to be put into the administrative law course, but there's definitely significant crossover there. But anyway, first module I kind of completed was constitutional law and loved it. My first year at uni was not the best. If you've seen, I think it has a really dramatic title, The Truth About My Academic Journey or some shit like that. But basically I did a whole video about kind of why first year was so tough for me, and I stand by everything I say in that video. But yeah, despite that, I absolutely love the content of constitutional law. So yeah. Criminal law, I did half of that during my very first term, and then I did half of that during my second term. What shall I say for criminal law? I kind of love criminal law. Did I complete? Yeah, actually I'm gonna go with loved it. I really enjoyed criminal law. Do I think I would do it again? Maybe not. Okay, I'm going to put it in looked forward to tutorials, just because I really enjoyed it. I really look forward to tutorials. I still find it super interesting and I enjoy volunteering in courts. However, I don't think I'll choose to study it at master's level. But I did really love it. It's going to go in loved it. It'll go in loved it. But yeah, I think I love it in practice, maybe a bit more. I don't know, I really like the theory. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to put it in loved it. I did really enjoy it. It's definitely one of the kind of more interesting modules of my law degree. But I don't want to go into it. That makes sense. Okay, so next up I studied Roman law. I had the sweetest, best tutor for Roman law. He's a DPhil student. He was just so nice. But unfortunately, I really hated it. I really didn't like Roman law. I think I found it very isolating because, so basically there's a lot of Latin involved in Roman law, and you obviously don't need to know Latin to study it, but it was definitely an advantage if you did know it. And at the end of the day, I just found it quite isolating. I didn't really see the point. I kind of understand the point in that you know, if you learn Roman law, you can get quite a good foundation to modern private law. But even then, I didn't find it that useful. I found it very, I don't know, I think I just didn't really get into it, which I was quite surprised about because I love history. But I think kind of most of the textbooks were pretty old, and I feel as though they were designed towards people who knew Latin, whereas I didn't even know that Latin was still taught in school until I went to Oxford, and like all of these people had studied A-level Latin. I was like, oh, cool. So I'm going to put it in glad to see the back of it, even though my tutor was lovely, and there were interesting parts to it, but I just didn't really see the point. I'm sorry. Okie dokie. Then we have contract law. So I did contract law in my first year, but I did it in my final term, so after law moderations. Oxford's really weird because you do your exams in constitutional law, criminal law and Roman law in Easter of first year, and then you go back and then you start like your final honours school stuff, the exams for which you then do in your final year. So contract was in my third term, so Trinity term of first year. This is a tricky one because I think I said this in my video as well about my mental health and everything. I had some issues with teaching basically in that particular term. I'm not going to go into it too much. I'm pretty sure I went into it in my other video, but I just had a not very nice relationship with my tutor for that subject. It just led to some real issues, and it just meant that I had terrible anxiety about going to any of my tutorials. I had a lot of self-doubt, it wasn't very fun. However, when I ended up basically teaching myself contract law, and I think the content of it is pretty interesting, but also I'm going to pop it in a bit of a drag, I think, because although I enjoyed it, I think it would be an alright, or even looked forward to tutorials if it wasn't for my tutor. But I'm going to put it in a bit of a drag because although I found the content quite engaging once I'd kind of gone through it all over the summer and taught myself everything and caught up, I think that really the whole subject was just kind of tainted. So then after I'd done contract law, we also in that term did some mooting, but it's not like a proper module. We had to pass it, but it doesn't contribute towards our degree. So I've not mentioned that one in here. In Michaelmas term, which is the first term of my second year, I did all of tort and half of trusts. Tort law, first of all, I really enjoyed tort law. I had an amazing tutor. I found it so tricky, it was very, very difficult, but I think that's also because my tutor expected a lot, but not too much, just really encouraged us to have our own thoughts and opinions, and I think that's a really good thing. So tort law I found super interesting. I really enjoyed studying nuisance and product liability, and I found negligence pretty interesting. I think the worst thing about tort was that there was so much content. So for example, at Worcester, we didn't study the economic torts and we didn't study defamation. And so already on an exam paper, you couldn't answer a question about economic torts or defamation. And then as well, the other sub-modules almost, nuisance and negligence, occupiers liability, product liability, all of those kind of things, they were all so dense, and there was so much to learn for those that it was quite difficult preparing for the exam because you felt as though you needed to know so much because you couldn't really drop quite so many topics because there were already 2 topics that you couldn't answer questions on. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to put it in looked forward to tutorials. As I say, probably prevented from being in loved it just because there was so much work, and that wouldn't normally put me off a module, but to the point where I felt as though I just kind of felt as though I was drowning sometimes and couldn't fully understand the subject basically. So that's going to go in look forward to tutorials. I also did half of trusts in Michaelmas term and then half of trusts in Hilary term, so after Christmas. Trusts, Okay, so I'm actually, yeah, I'm going to put this in glad to see the back of it, okay? There were some bits of trust that I found interesting, but I think my problem with trusts is that it's generally kind of focused on how you can sort out inheritance for very rich people and stuff. And honestly, it's not really what I want to do in law. I find bits of it interesting, like I did a mini pupillage, and something that I was looking at was the subject matter and certainty of a trust. And that was interesting. And I could definitely see myself working on something like that. But I'm not like really big into commercial law, and so it's just a bit, yeah. So anyway, it's gone into glad to see the back of it, but I'm sure at some point I'll encounter trust law again. I'm just not actively searching for further academic reading in it. I did all of administrative law in Hilary term of my second year, so that's the term between Christmas and Easter. This was also my final term of like normal university life, because then the second half of my degree was just COVID. Admin, straight into loved it. Admin, so good. As I said, I absolutely love public law. Like I said, it's kind of the practical side to constitutional law. I had the sweetest tutor in the whole world. She is just incredible, and yeah, I just loved it. Admin is actually really difficult, and so it puts a lot of people off, and there is a lot of reading. But I really like anything that's kind of the crossover between law and politics. And then in Trinity term, which is the summer term of my second year, we did Landlord and we did Jurisprudence. Jurisprudence is split into two. So half of Jurisprudence you do, it's called a mini option. So you choose a subsection of Jurisprudence, and then you have 2 or 3 classes in it. I think 3. You have 3 classes in it, and then you do basically a mini dissertation. I can't remember how it was. It was maybe 5,000 words or something over the summer, and then you get examined on that. And then the other half of it is an exam where you do 2 exam questions. Basically, that Trinity term was really intense, so I just want to sort of preface my conclusions about these subjects with that. First of all, there was COVID, and I was living not at home or at uni. Kate and I were renting a house, taking food to my grandparents. No one knew what was going on. It was very stressful. On top of that, because we had so much going on, like each week I would have sort of 3 reading lists and 2 to 3 essays to write. And it was just a lot. It was so draining, and it would have been so draining anyway, but a pandemic on top of that was, yeah, it was really tough. But what shall I put? Okay, jurisprudence. So jurisprudence is like the philosophy of law, and for my mini option I did unjust regimes, because I really like 20th century history, and a lot of the unjust regime stuff was about decolonisation, the civil rights movement. A large part of my essay was about Nazi Germany, so it kind of really fit well into that. And then jurisprudence, sort of the rest of it, you do things like morality in the law, what makes a law, all of these kind of things. I had really nice tutors for this as well, and I think in theory I thought I would really enjoy this module, but in reality there was so much reading, and I think I kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't care, you know, I don't really care what makes a law. I just know that it is a law. And reading lots by Raz and Hart and Finnis, it was kind of interesting, but after a while, and especially because I was under so much time pressure, there wasn't really the time to kind of do my own extra reading and find things that really interested me about the subject and that kind of thing. So I think, what are we going to put this in? We're going to put this in a bit of a drag, because it was a bit of a drag. Like I say, I enjoyed it. Tutorials were quite good, but it was a drag. Next up, Land, that was also in that summer term. As I said, like super intense. We're doing 2 full modules plus the extended essay dissertation-y thing, so it's a bit mad, and there was a pandemic. Landlord, surprisingly enjoyed Landlord, found it difficult. especially since it was all done kind of on Teams and everyone was adjusting to online learning. But I found Landlord quite interesting, and you know, there's a lot of stuff in there about tenancies and that kind of thing. I just felt like I could relate to it a lot more than Trusts Law. I really enjoyed the stuff about family homes. That was quite interesting. So, but did I look forward to tutorials? Maybe not. That might have just been because of the teaching style. Not that it's a criticism, but in our Landlord tutorials, we basically had to read out the essay that we'd written for that week. And while I understand how that's useful for some people, I'm not sure I found it really useful for me. And also it was all over Teams and everything kept glitching. So I'm going to put it in alright, because it was alright and I found some of it interesting, but did I look forward to tutorials? Probably not. Moving on to my final year, this worked a little bit differently. I had my 2 optional modules and also EU law, and rather than do kind of like 1.5 modules per term, which was sort of the average, instead I did all 3 modules kind of alongside each other but across 2 terms, and then in my very final term I had my exams, so we didn't have any additional modules or anything. For my options, I picked labour law and public international law. So starting with EU law, I'm going to pop that in, loved it. I had a great tutor for that. I find EU law super interesting. Hopefully that I'll still be able to do some kind of EU law in the UK. I'm sure I will, because realistically there's so much retained EU law and also so much interaction between the UK and the EU. It was really sad studying EU law because you kind of are reminded of all of the things that the UK has now lost out on. I might get some hate comments down below for that, because every time I seem to tweet about the EU I'll get some random person who I've never heard of before commenting down below. But yeah, I think if you know me, I'm pretty clear on where I stand on the EU. I just really love the module, super interesting, a lot of reading and really quite difficult, but really enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun. Public international law, I don't know where to put this. Public international law I really enjoyed, okay, I really enjoyed it. My tutorials themselves were good, they were incredibly challenging, and the one thing I kind of found with this module was that there seemed to be a bit of a lack of communication about what students were expected to learn and to read, because basically when you get a reading list there's normally kind of essential material on there, and then there's also supplementary material. And then as well you might go and do a little bit of your own research, but bearing in mind we have kind of generally 2 essays a week to write, that's not a lot of time to do loads of extra reading, and the essential reading will be a lot anyway. Normally it was 2 chapters of a textbook, which was at least 200 pages, plus like 3-4 articles, which each would be between 20 to 50 pages, and then also some cases, which again are like really long in international law. And then you'd go to the tutorial and be asked questions about a random article on the supplementary reading. For example, sometimes that was the only article on the supplementary reading that I hadn't read, but it still, like, I was still asked questions about it, and you just kind of put in an awkward situation like, I didn't read that one, and then you felt really guilty for not doing enough work, but you've done this as much as or even more than you're expected to do. And then sometimes as well you would just sort of, I'd write an essay, I'd be penalised for not mentioning something, but that something wasn't mentioned in the lectures or on the reading list or in any of the footnotes or anything. I think it probably would have been loved it, because I really enjoyed it. Like I really enjoyed doing all this stuff about the UN, treaties, use of force, all of these things I found really interesting. I'd definitely like to study it more. Tutorials themselves I did enjoy them, but I think that it's not going to go in loved it, because although I did really like it, it was just super intense, and I kind of felt like I was failing all the time when I wasn't. Like I'd get a first on an essay but still would be told that I needed to include loads of extra things that I'd just not even been told existed. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in looked forward to tutorials, because it's kind of it's a bit of a loved it with a caveat, so I'm going to put it in looked forward to tutorials. Okay, labour law, final one. That's going straight into loved it. I, as like the category suggests, absolutely loved labour law. Labour law is basically anything to do with employment, but it also concerns like self-employed people and workers. There's also a lot of contentious issues being tested in the Supreme Court at the moment. So the recent Uber decision, there's the recent MENCAP decision, there's the upcoming Costow decision. All of these things are just kind of, I just found them really interesting. And I also found, just looking at the socioeconomic reality behind all of these issues, I found that super interesting. So yeah, I would say that that's in the loved it category. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really excited to get to film in more content. My channel is going to take a slightly different direction now that I'm finished with my degree, but as I'm still very happy to create access and admissions content if anybody has any requests. I just feel as though I've kind of covered it all, but equally, if you have any questions, do let me know. Instagram or Twitter, probably your best bet, or comment down below, also check those, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye bye.